Most websites look simple until you realize every line of code builds the whole experience. Learning to code isn't just about syntax, it's about learning how to create, how to organize, and structure your ideas into something real. Today, we are starting Ember and Bean, a very simple professional project. It's a modern cafe website. Think of it as you building your cafe from the ground up. Before the coffee machine and deco, you need a solid foundation, which is the HTML structure that is going to align to your site. And when we talk about HTML, remember, HTML simply means Hypertext Markup Language, and we are using a very unique text editor, which is called VS Code, known for Visual Studio Code. The first thing we have to do is going off our text editor and creating our text folder file in our desktop. So you right click and go to new and go to folder, and from there we simply write Ember, or we simply type Ember and Bean. You press enter, then we go inside the Ember and Bean. We create a new folder which we can name projects, and we press enter. So with that be done, we can go back to our VS Code. So we move to file at the top, then we open folder, then straight to desktop, and here we have Ember and Bean. We double click and we have our project. We double click and we select folder. So we are ready to impute our HTML structure. So the first thing we have to do after this phase is by creating our first file in the projects folder. In our projects folder, we create our first file, which is index.html. Here we have our index.html, and the next thing we have to do is to actually use the first line code, which is called the doc type. So we can here just press shift and our curve brackets. Here we have our first pop-up, which is doc type. And when we talk about doc type, what is actually a doc type? Doc type is what tells the browser that this is an HTML5 page. It ensures our site is rendering a very accurate sequence, and also it's like putting a welcome sign before entering a store. So it's always at the top. That's initially what the doc type does. So the next thing we need to talk about is the second line, which has to do with the HTML. And when we talk about the HTML tag is also a tag with the opening and closing. So in our opening tag, we can impute an attribute which is called lang, and its value en, which means English. So when we get this done, we should now have a brief explanation about what this HTML tag does. So the HTML tag is what we call our parental tag or root tags. They are the root of our web page. They contains everything that appears on our site, and it's also like a building structure of our cafe, meaning that it wraps whatever that goes into our site. And here we'll be having one of the best, which is the line 4, whereby we'll be having what we call the head. So here we have the head, which is an opening and closing tag also. What the head tag does is it contains the meta information, the titles and the link, and it's the invisible part of our web page. So it prepares our site before showing the content. It's like our cafe blueprint and plans before opening. Also here we can also have our title, whereby we can add and also metadata on it. So as well, we can skip this and move straight to the next tag, which is the body. So I want to talk about the body tag with also an opening and closing. So the body is what we call the visible container. It contains every visible content, everything user sees on our website goes in here, and the actual cafe where customers interact with, like adding our headings, text and images and buttons all goes inside our body tags. So one thing we should know that starting with structure teaches patience and discipline. Every great website begins with a solid foundation. If you rush it and everything else will also feel unstable. So what part of the HTML structure feels confusing? Are you ready to start building Ember and Bean with me, or do you have a particular project in mind? Share what you added first in your body section. Every masterpiece begins with a line, carefully placed with purpose. Next, we will add the first element which our visitor will see, such as the heading, the text, and the images, and make Ember and Bean start feeling alive. Remember, this is the Luminous. See you in the next episode.